Dragonite was the original Pseudo Legendary, and it has had a fantastic competitive career over the years. Ever since Generation 5, when Dragonite received the ability Multiscale, it absolutely soared in popularity and viability, becoming a solid member of OU in every single generation since then. In the current day, Dragonite and Clefable are the only two Gen 1 Pokemon still ranked in OU, but there was a time in history where Dragonite struggled quite a bit. When Generation 3 came out, so did a new Pseudo Legendary, a fellow dragon flying type that completely outclassed Dragonite in every aspect. Salamence had most of the same tools that Dragonite had, but it was faster. It had a better ability, and it was a better fit on most competitive teams. Whenever there's a Pokemon with the exact same typing as yours that simply does a better job, it can be hard to justify finding a place on a competitive team anymore. Even though Dragonite is really solid, it has great stats and a fantastic move pool, it is ranked in UUBL in Generation 3 because the vast majority of the time it is better to use Salamence. However, this has not stopped certain top players from experimenting with Dragonite anyway and seeing if it has anything unique to offer. The most obvious reason that one would want to use Dragonite is because it can basically be a second Salamence. It's illegal to run multiple of the same Pokemon on your team, but since Dragonite is so similar to Salamence and it's not too much worse, you can run Dragonite and Salamence on a Dragon Dance spam type of team and it can work quite well actually. Sometimes the Dragonite can be a choice band set instead of Dragon Dance to have one Dragon Flying guy that applies immediate pressure and one that is more of a setup sweeper for the late game. Dragonite can also run alternative coverage to your Salamence like Brick Break instead of Earthquake to help in certain matchups that the Salamence can't. But sometimes there's also reasons to just use Dragonite instead of Salamence. Both Dragonite and Salamence have vast move pools with physical and special attacking options, giving them a lot of set variety. And Dragonite happens to have some cool offensive options that Salamence lacks. Dragonite has access to Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, which are fantastic coverage moves. Ice and Electric work very well together offensively and cover the majority of the type chart. It's one of the most popular offensive coverage combinations. Salamence usually goes for the Fire Grass coverage combination on its mixed sets with Fire Blast and Hidden Power Grass. This is another great offensive type combination, but the fact that Dragonite has access to a different one that hits different targets does give Dragonite a bit of merit. It's also worth noting that Thunderbolt has a higher base power than Hidden Power, and is a bit more threatening to water types than Hidden Power Grass is. If Dragonite wants to sacrifice a bit of accuracy for more power, you can even run Thunder, which has a much higher 120 base power and can really punish incoming water types if it happens to land. Another great option that Dragonite has access to is Focus Punch. Focus Punch is a move with a massive 150 base power. But of course, it requires you to tighten your focus before using it, and if your focus gets broken by an incoming attack, the move will fail. Focus Punch is commonly used to punish enemies using non-attacking moves or switching out. Focus Punch can also be used alongside Substitute to guarantee that the Focus Punch will connect. If you are protected by a Substitute, it's not possible for the enemy to break your focus, and you can therefore safely Focus Punch. A mixed attacking set with something like a Substitute, Focus Punch, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt can actually be pretty threatening with Dragonite, even though it's slower than Salamence is, and that hinders it in terms of posing much of an offensive threat. These unique offensive options and also the surprise value of Dragonite, since it's a Pokemon that's not commonly seen and not everybody knows what exactly it's going to be running, these advantages can make Dragonite quite effective as a mixed attacker. You can also use your mixed attacking options on a Dragon Dance set, as something like Dragon Dance, Hidden Power Flying, Earthquake, Thunder can be a set. Salamence can sometimes run a similar set with Dragon Dance and Fire Blast, but the benefit of Thunder is that it not only hits Skarmory, which is a common switch-in, it also hits water types like Melodic and Suicune, who are common switch-ins. Dragonite also has some pretty cool utility moves that can be helpful. Thunder Wave is a noteworthy one that Salamence does not have access to. Gyarados can run a Dragon Dance Thunder Wave set sometimes, with Thunder Wave being an option to punish popular switch-ins, such as Zapdos or Gengar, and cripple them. Dragonite could do much of the same thing if it wanted, which gives it a slight niche over Salamence. And perhaps the most significant option of all that Dragonite has access to that Salamence doesn't is Heal Bell. Heal Bell is one of the best utility moves in Pokemon, healing not only your status ailments, but the status ailments of your entire team. It's a bit of a weird Pokemon to use Heal Bell on though. Heal Bell is usually used on defensive Pokemon like Blissey, Celebi, or Articuno. To use Heal Bell on a Dragon Dance sweeper is a little bit weird, but this can actually be pretty awesome role compression. Salamence itself sometimes runs sets that aim to combat status ailments. Sometimes a Dragon Dance Salamence is checked by status, like a Melodic using Toxic against it, or a Starmie, a defensive Starmie using Thunder Wave. So certain Salamence sets can run Dragon Dance 2 attacks and an option like Substitute or Refresh. With Substitute, you can punish those bulky water types that rely on Toxic for their pressure, since the substitute grants status immunity. Refresh can be much the same, and in fact it can catch the enemy off guard. They might think that you're statused permanently, you surprise them by healing the status, and then they're in a lot of trouble. So running Heal Bell on Dragonite actually can benefit Dragonite itself, serving the same purpose that Refresh might serve on a Salamence set. But this has the added benefit of also supporting your entire team and healing their status ailments. A Dragon Dance Heal Bell set can now 1v1 something like Melodic or Starmie in the same way Refresh or Substitute Salamence can, and now you have a way to support something like Rest Snorlax on your team, heal their sleep. You can also be more open to taking burns or toxics from enemies, because you know that you can Heal Bell them later with your Dragonite. Heal Bell opens up a lot of flexibility. This team, built by the top player Watermess, is a good example of a team that takes advantage of the unique Heal Bell option. This is a Magneton physical offense team with the game plan of eliminating Skarmory to make way for Dragonite and Gyarados to sweep with Dragon Dance. Suicune works well on these teams too, even though it's not a physical threat. It appreciates Skarmory being gone, since it doesn't have to worry about Skarmory's Roar, which could stop it from sweeping. Suicune also benefits from Dragonite as a teammate because Heal Bell can heal Suicune's rest. Suicune often runs a Sleep Talk set on teams like this to be more proactive, since if it uses rest, it can't really do much, and this teams are aggressive, they want to be applying pressure. But with Dragonite as a teammate, Suicune doesn't necessarily need to run Sleep Talk, and using rest is therefore not as much of a commitment that will leave Suicune inactive for 2 turns every single time, because there's a way to heal it now. This can free up a move slot for Suicune, allowing it to run Ice Beam, which basically makes it an effective check against Salamence and Flygon, which the team does need. So running Dragonite instead of Salamence here has a lot of benefits. Dragonite is a potential win condition that can also heal its own status, which is important against targets like Melodic and Starmie, and it can also support Suicune. It can be hard to fit a Cleric onto physical offense teams like this because you want to be applying pressure. So the role compression of Dragonite, who is a physical attacker and a Cleric in one, works very well here. Watermess is one of my personal favorite team builders, who has made creative use not only of Dragonite, but also Pokemon such as Victory Bell and Poliwrath. Watermess is a player that brings a lot out of overlooked Pokemon that most players wouldn't think much of. Watermess is one of the players that has been invited to the Jimvitational, a Gen 3OU invitational tournament hosted by myself and the Revival Tournaments team. 30 fantastic players have already been invited to the main event, but there are still 2 more slots to fill to reach that 32 player bracket. So first we will be hosting a play-ins tournament where the finalists will earn a spot in the main event. And the play-ins tournament consists of some of the most promising rising stars in Gen 3OU recently. The play-ins tournament will begin very soon on May 19th, and the main event will be happening on June 16th. Subscribe to the Revival Tournaments channel to follow the coverage of the event with commentated sets and other analysis. I will be commentating the games alongside fantastic community members such as LRXC and more. I and the team will be contributing to the prize pool, and it will start at $500 US. If you would like to donate to the prize pool, there is a link down below, and you will receive a shout out at the end of our tournament videos. Please make sure to use the PayPal link if you would like to donate, rather than leaving a super chat, which will not go towards the prize pool. Anyway, back to Dragonite. Despite being outclassed by Salamence for the most part, most notably thanks to its lower speed stat and a worse ability, Intimidate is a much better ability than Inner Focus, Dragonite still finds little ways to be useful here and there, with its unique offensive options, and of course access to Thunder Wave and Heal Bell. Heal Bell being the most significant option that has been worth experimenting with for certain top players. And as we all know, Dragonite would have his day later on after he received the superior ability in Generation 5 and managed to outclass his longtime rival Salamence as time went on. What do you think of Dragonite in the Gen 3OU metagame, folks? And what would you like me to talk about next? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.